improving the operation of Lionel MPC piggybacks, auto racks, and more on this episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. Hello again, this is Mike with another episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. When sharing some layout time with my son recently, he asked me why it is that when I build a train consist, it usually runs fine, but when he builds a train consist, there are often derailments. The answer, of course, is that time and experience has taught me which cars are heavier and should be placed at the front of the train, and which cars are lighter or less stable and need to be placed at the rear of the train. But what can be done so we don't need to consider these things when assembling a train consist? For example, in the 1970s, Lionel MPC produced a variety of rolling stock that represented contemporary railroading. Lionel MPC's tri-level auto rack cars are good-looking, though slightly undersized cars that represent cars that were common on U.S. railroads in the late 1960s and 1970s. But the cars can be unreliable in actual operation on the layout. The cars are unusually tall, just like the prototype, which gives them the tendency to wobble while rolling. Additionally, the cars are somewhat thin in order to prevent collisions with switch machines and other trackside structures, and the cars are quite long, around 13 inches. This combination of length, width, and height makes these cars very unstable by nature. Still worse, in order to reduce the minimum curve to 0.27, the trucks on these models are not attached to the car at the center, but instead on the ends. Truck-mounted couplers impart more thrust forces into the train car than body-mounted couplers, and these modified trucks add to the effect, literally acting as a lever that can push the trucks off the rails while backing up or traversing tight curves. One tool that helps these cars, and all three rail trains, stay on the rails are the deep wheel flanges. But sometimes this is not enough. Another tool that can help considerably is weight. But how much weight and where? The National Model Railroad Association has developed what is known as the RP 20.1 recommended practice for car weighting in each scale. While these guidelines were developed for two-rail O-scale, with wider curves and shallower flanges, they can provide a baseline for developing our own weight guidelines. The NMRA recommendation for O-scale rolling stock is a minimum weight of 5 ounces plus 1 additional ounce per inch of car length. Therefore, a Lionel post-war number 6462 gondola, which is approximately 10 inches in length, should weigh about 15 ounces. My example weighs in around 9.5 ounces. Trying another example, this number 6456 hopper car, at around 8.5 inches in length, should weigh 13.5 inches by the NMRA guidelines. In fact, it weighs in under 9 ounces. But I have found that these post-war cars with their metal trucks and heavy plastic bodies are just right as they are. They track well through turnouts, even when backing up, and they can be placed at the front of a heavy train without worrying about them tipping over in curves. And if we add too much weight, it will be difficult for our locomotives to pull more than a 3 or 4 car train. We need a different guideline. If we multiply the NMRA number by 0.65, my weight for the gondola becomes 9.75 ounces, pretty close to its actual weight of 9.5 ounces. Likewise, multiplying by 0.65 makes the recommended weight for the hopper car 8.77 ounces, just over its actual weight of 8.5 ounces. In other words, if I multiply the NMRA recommendation by 0.65, I have a target weight to make modern cars weigh approximately the same as their post-war counterparts. With this in mind, let's look at our MPC auto rack. At 13 inches long, the target weight, 18 ounces, times 0.65 is 11.7 ounces. The actual weight of the car is just over 7 ounces. Therefore, I need to add 4.5 to 5 ounces to the weight of the car to make it comparable to post-war car weights. One easy solution is to use these stick-on wheel weights. They come pre-sized in quarter-ounce and half-ounce varieties, and I picked up this pack for around $9 at Harbor Freight. You can also purchase bulk boxes on Amazon to save a bit when you're doing a number of cars at once. But where should the weights go? My 3 rules for weight are low, wide, and balanced. You want to place the weights as low on the car as possible. The lower the center of gravity, the more the weight serves to counterbalance any sideways forces on the car. Look at the difference in how this weighted car on the left and the unweighted car wiggle when pushed. The weighted car quickly finds its center, while the unweighted car keeps wiggling side to side. This is one reason that I do not load these auto racks with metal cars like Hot Wheels. The added weight on the top of the car only accentuates these additional forces and increases the likelihood of derailments. If you're going to add vehicles, try to use plastic, especially on the top 2 tiers, for best results. Next, place the weights as wide on the car as possible. Consider the differences between, say, a Spanish galleon and a catamaran in an ocean storm. The galleon, with its relatively thin center line and tall superstructure, is very susceptible to tipping in strong crosswinds. A catamaran, on the other hand, with its wide outrigger or secondary hull, is nearly impervious to these sideways forces. I am mounting my weights perpendicular to the center line of the car rather than parallel to increase their width and to provide greater stability. And balanced. Place your weights so that they are symmetrical side by side and left to right, even if it means using less weight than recommended in order to maintain that symmetry. If necessary, you can stack weights on top of other weights. Just make sure to maintain track clearance underneath the car. If your car has a history of unwanted uncouplings, now is a good time to add a rubber band to the coupler shaft to prevent this issue. I found mine at Dollar Tree. Another car type that can be significantly improved with weight is the Lionel MPC Modern Era Piggyback Flat Car. Again, the post-war number 3460 cars with their metal trucks, thick plastic frame, and metal superstructure handled themselves quite well without any additional weight. Modern cars, on the other hand, with all plastic construction, can be problematic, especially when trailer loads are added. Remember keeping the weight low? Adding these trailer loads on top of the flat car can significantly increase the car's instability. Using our modified standard, this 6-9122 piggyback car should weigh in at about 9.75 ounces. In fact, the empty car weighs only 4.2 ounces. So I will add 5 to 5.5 ounces of weight to the car. There are simulated girders in the plastic underframe of this car, leaving us no flat spots to attach weight. However, the sticky side should still work even when only attached to these girders. Once again, place the weights perpendicular to the center line to add width. It will take 2 stacks of weight to get this car properly weighted. Once completed, the car will provide a stable, wiggle-free platform for the trailers, lessening the chances both for derailments and for the loss of trailer loads. If your trailers still want to leap from your moving flat car, use a rubber band and a toothpick to secure them. Loop one end of the rubber band around the underframe of the trailer. Then pass the rubber band through the hole in the flat car platform. Then insert a toothpick through the rubber band and twist a few times until the trailer is secure. The car sides will prevent the toothpick from unwinding. Of course, the same weight technique may be applied to any lightweight car to improve operating reliability. But do you need to add weight to every car? No, not necessarily. If you have a favorite starter set that you just like to run in loops or every now and then, by all means leave the cars alone if they operate well. It's only when we focus on a more realistic operation, longer trains, mixed consist, and switching operations, that the weight becomes more of a factor. Besides, some starter set locomotives would not be able to pull cars of any additional weight. Feel free to come up with your own weight standard. The key is consistency. I have many post-war cars, so making my modern cars match their weight helps operation. If your equipment is all modern, you may be able to use less weight. In any case, always remember low, wide, and balanced when adding weight to your cars. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and if so, please like the video, subscribe, share, and tell your friends and neighbors. And remember to keep the trains running, regardless of weight, and we'll catch you next time on Toy Train Tips and Tricks.